What is the ideas or suggestions for the policymakers or school leaders or educators to make learning more exciting and inclusive? The problem lies at the implementation level. What happens is that it happens at the policy level, and much of that thought process gets lost. Here also comes the market forces, the expectations of parents.
And parents have to change their thought process.
And expectations.
And expectations, you are just putting all your expectations on your kids. Let them enjoy, let them have fun.
There is this famous quote that we can't always prepare a future for our children, but we can always prepare our children for the future. Welcome to the first episode of Out of Syllabus Podcast, presented by Skandamitra. I am super excited today that we have two lovely guests who have come all the way from Delhi, who are the founders of ARC. One is ARC EdTech Solutions and ARC Foundation. They have been doing one of the most life-changing projects that our world needs. They have completely dedicated their lives on SDGs, and they've made it more accessible for schools to implement. So today, I'm introducing Ritu Malhotra, who we have here, and Anit.
Hi, I'm Anit Gupta.
Wonderful. To begin with, I know that how the journey of ARC Foundation started to where it is right now. Mm-hmm. But before we get into how passionate you are in what you do, but I would love to know about the true journey about you getting into education, and how are you looking forward for the landscape of education in the upcoming years? To be very honest, it was impulsive. It was a leap of faith for us. I have spent close to 20 years in the field of education. I was in publishing. I used to work with Oxford University Press, Dorning and Nestle, and other education publishers in India. And I happen to be a teacher also. I've taught middle school students not once but twice. And that's where the awakening happened. When I started using the material that I was creating in my publishing days, I realized there was a lacuna. I realized that we were only focusing on making them master math, science, English languages. But nobody was thinking about the real life skills. Nobody was thinking, are these kids future ready? Nobody was thinking that they are still living in a bubble. They are not really equipped to handle the challenges they will face in the real world. And that's why I got introduced to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And when I went deep into them, I realized it was a wonderful tool. It was a magical tool that could really empower the kids to deal with the challenges of the world. And Amit and I had been wanting to do something meaningful and really transformative in the field of education. We joined hands. We published a set of books. As I said, it was a leap of faith. We didn't have a business plan or a business model or a market, or hadn't done any analysis of the market needs. But yes, we were convinced about this cause, and we started out. It was 5 years ago, and we're still on this journey. Been a very rewarding journey, and that's the small change we try to bring. Wonderful, nice to hear. So I know you have been heading media teams in different big brands, but how are you back to the core solution for the future generations as education, being the guiding light through SDGs? How has that journey been with you, Anil?
I think it's a far better journey than what I was doing in my previous life. I would say I was working in big brands and working as a strategist, as a consultant in data analytics. But this journey has been far more rewarding. This is much more exciting, much more enriching, I would say. And I think what we have done in the past few years, when you do a startup like this, you think about the planet, you think about how are you going to impact the children in the world. And then at the same time, you also do all the things which a startup does. You do marketing, you do finance, you do everything on ad. So I would say it has been a very rewarding journey.
Now that you see the AI wave happening everywhere with ChatGPTs, children using ChatGPTs to do their tests or homework, how do you see the next 3 big career movements happening? And how do you think our school systems are equipped to match that?
Interesting. I think the top three roles, and I read somewhere on LinkedIn also, and a lot of other areas, World Economic Forum and all. The top three roles, next three roles would be one in AI, the second in sustainability and green jobs, and the third one in biotechnology. And I don't think that the way things are moving at a pace, our children are getting equipped to handle any of these. So AI, obviously, there's a lot of focus on AI and robotics and all of those things. But for green jobs, I think there's a big void and a big gap. Children are not equipped to handle the problems of tomorrow. They don't understand deeply. And I can tell you, as a consultant, I've seen that to solve any problem, you need to have a good structure around that problem, right? So SDGs provide that amazing structure to all the problems our planet is facing. So if our kids understand SDGs deeply and in a structured way, not just once in one of the classrooms, because that is just at an awareness level, but I think if they keep learning about SDGs and sustainability and the problems of our planet over the 8 to 10 years in their educational life, then I think we can expect a behavior change in children, and that's how children will be equipped to handle these jobs of tomorrow. So I think our education system has to still come to terms with what is happening in the world, and we have to adapt very quickly now.
Right. The world is changing at a very fast pace. In fact, nobody can predict what it will look like in 15 years from now when these children who are entering grade 1 go out of school. The biggest skills they will need is thinking on their feet, resilience, upskilling, and I think they have to be exposed to those situations, that kind of curriculum. Entrepreneurship can be that, social entrepreneurship can be that, which needs to be integrated in the school curriculum to equip them to deal with the challenges of tomorrow. Because you may step out as an engineer and find that AI has taken up all your jobs. So what do you do with that? So you have to think and adapt to the situation. So that's going to be the most important skill we will need from schools today. Now, both of you guys are trying to do something really transformative with our tech solution and our foundation through your books. How are you seeing that being accepted by schools, and what is the coolest shift that you've seen that children are demonstrating?
So I think what we are trying to achieve through our books is a behavior change. Lot of schools, and I would say our education system, is in a way that we are just focusing on imparting knowledge. But is it bringing a behavior change in students and children towards the betterment of our planet, or whatever we are trying to achieve, basically? So what ARG is doing is we have a structured curriculum and content around sustainable development goals and climate education. And it is not just at an awareness level. We are not just telling students that, guys, these are SDGs, these are sustainable development goals, and that's it. No, we are working throughout the 8 to 10 years of a child's life, integrating SDGs in their daily classrooms, in their daily lives, and making it a part of their lifestyle, or I would say their DNA. And that is what is required. We want a behavior change in our new future generation, in our next generation, so that they are able to tackle all these problems in a much better way.
We call it the 3 A's of SDG education. So it starts with awareness, of course. Knowledge is very important. It starts with awareness, but it can't end there. And attitude is very important to bring that change. Then we develop the attitude. That's the second A. And once they have the skills, the knowledge, and the attitude, it converts to action. So it is a full circle. It's not just awareness, which is the problem with the education system perhaps right now. It's limited to knowledge, but they don't apply that knowledge. They don't get the opportunity to apply that knowledge. So we complete the circle. We give them enough material and opportunities to take knowledge or their awareness to attitude, or to attitude and to action finally. When we started out, we met with 2 kinds of responses. Schools that had an add-on approach, which meant that they were perhaps talking to children about SDGs, but not doing the complete circle, as I said, from awareness to attitude to action. What we proposed to schools was the integrated approach, because we've seen that the impact is much more. The aim is to bring a change in the behavior. The aim is to make them think about the world they're going to step into and make positive changes in the environment. And of course, integration is education for sustainable development, while add-on is just education about sustainable development. So that's the difference we are trying to bring, and it's based on the pedagogy, which is metacognitive. It gets children to think. It gets children to think in a different way that they have been thinking, question the stereotypes, and bring the change in the world.
And I think the coolest change which we have found in children is that I think the best example is that I went to a school and the parents of a lot of children came to me and said, "What have you done to our kids?" I said, "For what happened, ma'am?" And one of the ladies said that the kids are now much more responsible. And now what they are doing is, now they are trying to bring a behavior change in us. Because they are saying that, why are you putting the AC on 23 degrees? It can run on 26 or 27 degrees. It's not so hot. Or they will switch off the lights or fans when not in use. And they will correct us also. So this is the change which we want in our kids. That they change themselves first. And once they change, it's not just them. They change a generation before them and a generation after them. Because that's how the kids operate, and they will make their parents change their behavior as well. So I think that is the coolest shift I've seen, that children have started becoming much more responsible and much more caring for our planet.
This is for somebody who has just a mere awareness about what are SDGs, or for somebody who's curious about what SDGs are. According to me, I see SDGs all over the social platforms and different places where they try to promote SDGs. But honestly, from a grassroots level, how are schools taking it, and how is it more actionable? So to list some SDGs, how is it really impactful in schools in today?
So actually, SDGs cover all the problems of our planet. You talk about anything, any problem, and they will be covered under the SDGs. So let's do this. Why don't you tell a few problems our planet is facing?
What's over the news is inequality, water pollution, warfare, having unsustainable practices in buildings, apartments, and people are not conscious about the consumption, about food wastage, water wastage, illegal, and also adding a lot of preservatives to farming, the food that we consume, places that we go. So these are the common problems that I personally see.
Yeah. So now if we just talk about these problems, it is so confusing. Like, you can talk about so many problems. What SDGs have done is they have given you a wonderful structure around these problems. So when you talk about wars, there is a SDG, which is goal number 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions. When you talk about inequalities, there are two goals which are linked to it. One is gender equality, and the other one is reduced inequalities in all other forms. When you talk about consumption patterns, there is an SDG, responsible consumption and production, SDG 12. When you talk about health of people and the problems people face, you have good health and well-being. You talk about food, so it's zero hunger, right? So any problem you imagine on this planet is covered under the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So SDGs provide a great structure to not just the students, but to all of us, to align our work, align our thoughts to all these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. That's the amazing part which SDGs have done. Now, what we do in our books is a step beyond this, a step over and above this. We just don't tell students about SDGs, that these are the Sustainable Development Goals. We do it in a way which is metacognitive, which means that we make them think about their own thoughts, which is what brings a behavior change in students. That is something which Ritu can talk a lot more in a lot more details about the metacognitive approach.
Right. I'll give you a few examples. So, as they say, simplicity is the hardest thing to achieve. So, what we have tried to do through this course, because we also have books for 3-year-olds here, is that we have really made it in a child-friendly language. The examples are something they can relate to. It's relevant to children. It's not the UN language we're speaking in those books, because they will not understand or make anything out of it. To give an example, a difficult goal like peace, justice, and strong institution, it's difficult to explain that to children. They don't even know what these terms mean. So what we suggest is that in every classroom, you set up a peace table and have a set of rules on that peace table. When two children fight, take them to the peace table, make them sit around the table, go through the rules. Okay, what is bothering you? What is bothering you? They express. How do you think you can solve it? They both express. And then they both come on a compromise, shake hands, and get up from the table. So that is peace, justice, and strong institutions explained to them in a language and in a way they can understand. Another example would be the problem of zero hunger and food wastage. We keep telling our children, do not waste food, do not waste food. It doesn't have that impact on them because they don't understand why they should not be wasting food. They'll say, I can't eat anymore. They will just stop eating. So what we have done, we tell them this fable of little red hen, where the red hen carries the grain and goes to harvest and makes bread out of it, and nobody helps her during the process. Through that story, we show them that she did 12 things to get bread out of grain. So the steps are 12. So they list down those steps. While they're doing it, they understand it's a laborious process. We're not telling them it's a laborious process to bring food to your plate, but when they do that exercise, they understand how much work goes into bringing food to your plate. And then we show them a picture of a person throwing food in garbage and a farmer in the field. We say, okay, if you are the farmer and you see this person, what would you tell him? So these are simple, subtle ways to bring a change in their thinking and behavior without giving them a lecture around it or stating the facts to them because they will not comprehend that. So that's a way of bringing a change in the behavior. Beautiful. And where is this concept being taught to which age group? So it starts from age 3 and goes up to age 13. So it's 10 years of continuous learning from awareness to attitude to action.
And now, in fact, a lot of schools where we are working, they said, what after grade 8? So now we have come up with a certification course, SDG champion course, for students in grade 9, 10, 11, 12, or in colleges, or people like you and me. Anyone can take up that course, understand what SDGs are, and it's a video-based course which we have launched. You watch the videos, wonderful stories, and then you get to learn about SDGs in a much more fun way, I would say.
Talking about education and how the schoolscape is happening right now, how do you picture 5 years and 10 years from now? How does education or schools look like? Yes, it's a big challenge. Schools really need to adapt. It's time the school adapted because the world is changing at a very fast pace and we are still stuck in the old system of one size fits all. So education really needs to change, and I think the 3 key areas that are going to make a difference in students' life are technology, pedagogy, how we approach things in our education system, and the social and emotional learning of children, the mental health of children. It is an alarming situation right now. So we need to address all these 3 areas and bring a transformation in these 3 areas for the schools of tomorrow. To talk about the first point, technology, in COVID, we saw the transition from offline to online, which was not healthy, of course. So technology has to be an enabler. It will play a key role in the future schools, but it cannot be a replacement for teachers. It cannot be a replacement for how children come together and work in schools. So very much physical schools are needed with technology embedded to enhance their learning at the right places, but it cannot replace the school system. But yes, how we look at schools need to change.
So that brings us to the second point, which is pedagogy. Right now, it's all exam oriented, it's all rote learning, it's one size fits all. 30 students sit in the class, attend the same lecture, they're operating at different levels. So it has to be more adaptive, it has to be more personalized. So we need to rethink our classrooms. We need to rethink it should not be age-based, it should be competency-based. So competency is what's going to drive the classrooms of tomorrow, should drive the classrooms of tomorrow. And that brings me to the last point, which is the mental health of children. So each child has unique qualities. So in this new environment, those unique qualities need to flourish. So right now, a sports person sits in the same classroom as an artist, as an engineer, as a doctor. So they need separate environments for their own growth, and that will really take care of their mental health also. Because if they enjoy what they do, if they learn in a very constructive environment, it is just going to change the world. And resilience is something we really need to build in children. So they have to be exposed to the challenges, situations, experiential learning, hands-on learning. That's going to play a key role in shaping the citizens of tomorrow.
I think it was very well captured the three aspects: technology, pedagogy, and impact. I think these are the three headings. In technology, I agree with her. We are going at a place where we think of virtual classrooms a lot. This is not going to help children or help the schools, because children have to come and collaborate with each other. They have to play. They have to come together. I mean, you can't have them sitting at homes and learning everything. That's not the way it should happen. And I think we will adapt accordingly. But on the second front, which is pedagogy, I think exams have to be given less importance, where we are asking kids to give exams every now and then. So it has to be more adaptive. Pedagogy has to change. It has to be more oriented towards learning, rather than just getting knowledge and rote learning and just writing the exams. It has to be about how you grow and how you learn and grow as an individual. And the third aspect is mental health is there, but the impact is the bigger umbrella, I think, where children have to understand how all of this is impacting their mental health, and schools have to understand how all of this is impacting students' mental health. I read about the suicides happening in Kota, where children just worry about the competition all around them. So we need to work towards their mental health. We need to work towards the impact on mental health. We need to work towards the impact on the society. The way children are learning and the way schools are telling, what is the impact on the society? And the third impact, I would say, is on the environment. Are children becoming more sustainable? Are they understanding the problems of our planet, as I said? Or are they understanding how this all is impacting climate change? What actions can they take? How do they bring a change in their own actions? So I think these are the three areas where schools need to really adapt to make sure that they cater to the needs of tomorrow.
So what is the biggest challenge that you see in education in general? And are we trying to fix it in any way?
I think the biggest challenge we face, not just maybe in the education system, but I think in our life in general, is the mindset of competition. Everywhere you go, it's all about competition. And it starts at a very young age in a child's life. You get in a school, you are competing. In a preschool, you are competing with children. How have you learned your ABCs and numbers, and are you better than the other child or other children in your class or not? And this mindset is really driving our society down as a whole. What should be the mindset? The mindset should be of collaboration. So when Ritu and I are in this journey on educating children about SDGs, when people tell us that, oh, this is your competition, I say, no, this is not a competition. This is a person with whom we can collaborate, because we can't bring a change in the world just Ritu and me. We can't bring that change in the entire world. We have to collaborate with all the others who are working in the same space. So I think this the biggest challenge is that how do we shift this mindset from competition to collaboration?
Talking so much about the flaws and the struggles that the school education space is having, but how as citizens, what is the ideas or suggestions for the policymakers or school leaders or educators to make learning more exciting and inclusive?
Right. I think the problem lies at the implementation level. I'm a big fan of NEP because it's really forward-looking. It's really, really progressive. What happens is that it happens at the policy level, and much of the thought process gets lost when it's translated by schools to what happens in a classroom. So that transition needs to happen correctly. It needs to be monitored, perhaps, more carefully, that it's happening correctly. To give an example, NEP talks about play-based learning. NEP talks about building number sense in children. When they're really small, when they start school, number sense is for them to understand that 7 means 7 days of the week, 7 means 7 objects, 7 means 7 people, so something they can see, something they cannot see. But what is happening, and here also comes the market forces, the expectations of parents. They want the child to be able to recite numbers till 100. The child cannot know what 99 might be. Yes. So the market forces demand more, much more, which kind of takes away the essence of learning. So that is the translation part I'm talking about. It has to be translated. The consumer also has to understand that we are trying to build a deep knowledge. The aim of education is what? What does NEP say? To build good human beings who have the correct scientific temper and critical thinking abilities. So that cannot be achieved by teaching them to count till 100 because they're not acquiring any number sense around it. They have to understand what these numbers are. The different counting techniques NEP talks about are not being implemented in our classrooms right now. So somebody has to sit down and monitor these aspects when the reports go to the government. So they have to capture these points, whether it's being done correctly or not. So that is something I think needs to change. It has to be more hands-on. It has to be play-based. It has to be more inquiry-based. From lecture method, we have to make the transition. So that is something schools are failing to adapt to. Yeah, and they need to change that.
I think the bigger challenges lies with the parents. It's the schools, the policymakers are doing good. I think they have done a decent job. Schools are trying to adapt. But whenever you talk to a school leader or a teacher, they say that, sir, what can we do? Parents are asking for all of this. And parents have to change their thought process.
And expectations, yeah.
And expectations. You are just putting all your expectations on your kids. I wanted to be in IT. I can't expect my son to be in IT. I just put that burden on my son or my daughter that you be in IT and fulfill my dream. That is not the way it has to be.
Yeah.
I think it has to be more like you let them enjoy, let them have fun. But at the same time, make sure that they're learning, they are growing as human beings. They don't need to, you need to, again, as I said, you need to stop the competition between children. You have to make sure that whatever your child is doing, it's perfect and it's great. And you have to accept that. So I think parents need to bring a change in themselves. And this is where schools also struggle. You talk to any school across India, and they will say, we can't do much because this is what parents keep demanding. They go to the teacher and they say, I've seen parents sitting with teachers for half an hour in grade KG and saying, my child is not able to learn, my child is not able to understand these things, and why is my child getting less marks? In kindergarten, you are talking about all of those things. So I think this is where we need our parents to be more responsible and more understanding that you can't have this competitive mindset. You need to change it. You don't need to put the burden on your children.
It's always either the schools are not adapting, their focus is on different metrics, or the schools are trying to do their best, but parents are expecting different and schools are forced to follow.
Yeah. And at times, I think our educators are brilliant. The teachers, I have all my regard for the teachers of this country because they do such a tremendous job, but they are always under the under the light and under the knife, I would say, of parents and management and school leaders and all. But I think teachers are doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, another thing I would like to point out is that there should be more focus on climate change education. There is this famous quote that we can't always prepare a future for our children, but we can always prepare our children for the future. So climate change is a reality, and it's just going to change everything that we're used to. Nobody knows what impact it will be and what shape it's going to take. So we need to integrate climate change as a core subject in our curriculum today. I love how much emphasis you put on climate change. How will you explain climate change to a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old in simple words? And I'm sure your book does that, but for this audience, how are you going to share that? That's a good question, because we talk to children in a language they do not understand mostly. When we tell them about global warming and the oceans melting, it doesn't make any sense to them. So when we start talking about climate change, the first step is to tell them the difference between climate and weather. They can't even know that. They don't even know that. And then for them to know about greenhouse emissions and how greenhouse gases are not really harmful. So as they grow older, of course, it's not done in 1 year. We start by telling them what is climate, what is weather, how the temperature of the earth is increasing, how everything will change if it increases by another 0.5. So these are the small things we teach them at early stages. And then we talk about how human actions are contributing to global warming and greenhouse emissions, and how in a contained form, greenhouse gases are good, but the way we have been going, that's really harming the environment. And then the journey, as I said, is action-oriented. So we don't want to build climate anxiety in children also. They should not feel that the world they're going to inhabit is just going to collapse completely. So we want to give them hope. We want to tell them that yes, you can still fix it. Yes, there are changes you can make in your behavior and policy level once you go in leadership positions. So we give them those solutions so that they're empowered and equipped to deal with these problems. So that is how you have to build their knowledge without creating a lot of anxiety around this topic, because it's bound to happen. Once you go deep in it, I feel very anxious about the way climate is changing. So, but we have to tell them the positives around it and what can still be done.
And I think what we have done wonderfully, and I think I want to mention Anaita Lee, who is the author of these books. And what she has done wonderfully is that, like you were asking, how would you explain all of these things to a small child? So I'll give an example. Water as a resource is very scarce, right? We think that there is enough water on our planet. 70% of the earth is water. Right? And children know about it. In grade 1 or 2, they know that 70% of the earth is water. So why is water so scarce? So what she's done is, in that grade level, she does an activity where we give children 100 drops of water. First, we give them one color and say that fill 97 drops with this color. These drops are in the oceans and seas, which is water which we can't use for our daily use, for drinking and for bathing and for all those things. Then there are 3 drops left. 2 drops are trapped in glaciers and in some other places which we can't access. And so there is only 1 drop left out of these 100 drops which we can use for our drinking purposes and our daily use. So then students understand and children understand that, oh, even with so much of water, there is just 1 drop which is left to us out of 100 drops. And this is the way I think we teach children about bigger complex things in a very simple way, which has been done amazingly well by Anaita and Ritu. So I think this answers your question, like how do we teach children about it, right?
Is there anything that you want to consciously share? Any points that we have missed from our previous questions?
I think the biggest challenge I feel is that the companies just keep talking about climate change and climate action. We have to do something about it and the problems our planet is facing. And I go to so many conferences and seminars and workshops, and there is a lot of talk. there is very little action. I think this is where we need to change our thought process from just talking to taking action about it. So I would say that companies have to put their buck where their mouth is. Companies or educational institutes or anyone else, policymakers and every government bodies, government agencies, everyone has to start taking action. And this is where I think the bigger challenge lies.
Right, and we have to equip even the consumers or the children to be able to look beyond these tall claims. They should understand what greenwashing is. They should be able to see through all these false projections by companies that they're really going green when they're not. So that comes with awareness, of course. So we need to tell them what actually means going green and what you're saying is not true, perhaps.
I cannot express how much I'm grateful to Ritu and Anit here for spending such a lovely time to explain and to make lessons very easy that any 3-year-old or 5-year-old can understand. So with that being said, do you have any last closing message for all our listeners out here? How do we make our education system or SDGs more integrated or accessible with us in our daily lives?
I would just say that we need to work on behavior change of children. So whatever you do with SDGs as a school, just don't make them learn about 17 SDGs. Make them understand these in deeper details so that we see a behavior change in our children.
Right. I would say the same, that to make educational truly transformative and meaningful, we have to really reimagine the way we've been doing things. And Sustainable Development Goals provide us that framework which can really bring a behavior change, make the children the change makers of tomorrow.
I have the founders of ARC.
Hello everyone, I'm Ritu Malhotra, co-founder of ARC.
Hi, I'm Anit Gupta.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.